Okay guys, we're going to be working on 2-4 worksheet 1. And basically what we're doing here is we are doing complex numbers. So if we're doing complex numbers, the very first thing we want to do is we want to find the real numbers a and b such that the equation is true. So I'm telling you that a minus 5 or a minus 1 has to equal 5 and that b plus 3 has to equal 8. Why? Because this right here has to be 8 and this right here has to be 5. So if I add 1, I get a is equal to 6. If I subtract 3, I get b is equal to 5. So that is how you're going to do problems 1 and 2. Okay? Next, number 5. I do believe we did this in our notes, so go ahead and look at that. This is the tenths, the hundredths, the thousands, the 10,000s, so that's negative 4 over 10,000. Take the square root of both of those. That's going to be I squared times 4 over the square root of 10,000. So that's going to be 2I over 100, which gives you I over 50. Okay? Next, number 8. Number 8, we're going to go ahead and distribute this. So this gives you negative 3 minus 7I minus a half plus a third I. So I have negative 3 and a half minus, this is going to be, I have $7, I give a third to somebody, or I give 1/3 of $1 to somebody. So this is the same thing as 21 over 3. So that's going to give me a 20 over 3I. This right here is 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is negative 7 over 2 minus 20 over 3I. You can use your calculator for that as well. Number 13, the directions here say to go ahead and perform the operations and write the result in standard form. There's 2 of these here, so you have to write this down twice. And you have to write this down twice. And you have to FOIL each of these. So if I FOIL this, I'm going to have a 1 minus 2I plus a 4I squared. Okay, and that's going to give me 1 minus 4I plus 4I squared. Minus, come over here and do this one. That's going to give me a 1 plus 2I plus 2I plus 4I squared. So that's going to give me 1 plus 4I plus 4I squared. I kept the parentheses here, but I dropped these ones here. So if I drop those ones here and I distribute, those cancel out, and I'm left with 0. Okay? I didn't add here, right? Did anybody catch that? My bad, guys. The negative 4 and the negative 4 give me a negative 8I. Sorry, guys. For some odd reason, I just canceled them out. Didn't mean to. So please correct that. Okay? On your paper, you should have seen that mistake. Okay, number 14. It says, write the complex conjugate of the complex number, then multiply the number by its complex conjugate. So this already gives me a complex number, so I just need to multiply by its conjugate, which is going to be 4 minus 3I. Now remember, when you multiply conjugates together, you only have to do first and last. And then negative 9I squared turns into a plus 9 to give me 25. Okay? Now number 16, yeah, that's a little different. You actually have to calculate that one. So if you have to calculate that one, this is going to give you negative 1 times 4 times 5, which is going to be I squared times 4 times 5, which comes out as an I, and this comes out as a 2. So that's 2I square roots of 5. Now what is the conjugate of that? The conjugate of that is going to be the opposite, so negative 2 square roots of 5. So now that's going to be negative 4I squared times the square root of 25. So that's going to be positive 4 times 5, which is 20. Okay? Next, number 18. It says write the quotient in standard form. So you can't divide by an I. So we're going to multiply by I over I to eliminate that, to give me negative 5I over 2I squared. 2I squared is going to turn into a negative 2. A double negative is a positive, and you are done with that. Number 21. We have to simplify this, which means I have to write that down twice and FOIL it. So that's 5I over 4 plus 6I plus 6I plus 9I squared. So that's 5I over. That's going to be 4 plus 12I minus 9. Come on. To give me 5I over negative 5 plus 12I. But we're not done with that, because then we have to go ahead and multiply by its conjugate. So the conjugate of that is going to be multiplying by negative 5 minus 12I so that's negative 25I minus 60I squared over 25 minus 144I squared. And what do we know I squared to be? I squared to be is going to give me, change that to a plus 44, and that's going to change this to a plus 60 to give me 60 minus 25I over 25 plus 144 is going to give you a 169. And that is correct then. Okay, next one is 22. 22 says perform the operation and write the result in standard form. So I need to find my LCD. My LCD between these two are going to be 1 plus I times 1 minus I. So I need each of these denominators to turn into that. So I'm going to make this a negative 3 up there. What did I multiply this denominator by to obtain that denominator down here? What we did is we tacked on a 1 minus I. What did I multiply this denominator by to obtain this denominator? Well, what I tacked on was going to be 1 minus or 1 plus I. So now that they have the same denominator, I'm going to distribute this, and I'm going to FOIL the bottoms and write it as one fraction. So that's going to be 1 minus I squared. What does I squared equal? I squared is equal to positive 1 there. So 2 minus 3 is negative 1 minus 5I over 2. Now, it wants you to write it in standard form. Standard form is the real number minus the imaginary. So Math Excel will want this. Okay? Number 27 is the last one I'm going to do. This right here is going to be writing that down. I want you to simplify this. Like, how do I want you guys to do this? So this is going to come out as I square roots of 2 to the 6th power. Yes? So that's going to be I to the 6th times the square root of 2 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 times the square root of 2. Okay? Which means I to the 6th is the same thing as I squared to the 3rd power. That comes out as a 2, that comes out as a 2, and that comes out as a 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is going to be 8. That's going to be negative 1 cubed, which is negative 8. Okay? And I am done.